What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today, look, the other day I showed you the most expensive cards in Romance Dawn. Nice little bit of an update, see where the prices are going, all that good stuff. Seems a little bit rude if I don't then go and give you an update on Paramount War, as an example. That just seems a little bit mean, so today it's time to have a look at the top 10 most expensive cards that you can see in Paramount War. And yes, as a general rule, they are a bit cheaper than Romance Dawn. Just are. Just the way it is. But you know what? That's okay, ladies and gentlemen. That's okay. So, I should give a shout out to TCG Player, and also, right, do bear in mind, things will change. Prices will fluctuate. This happens. These are rough guides based on what I'm seeing at the moment. Things will change as we go. Good, good. So in at number 10 then, we've got the alternate art leader, Monkey the GARP. It's coming in at somewhere in the region of about $60. Now, one thing that is worth pointing out about Paramount War, more so even than Romance Dawn, alternate art leaders. They're about the only cards holding value. The alternate arts that aren't leaders, honestly, just not even making a dent at this point, really, at all. Obviously, there's a couple of exceptions. Generally speaking, this list is dominated by leaders in a way that we did not see in Paramount War. We're also seeing, in the case of like this leader, it's just a flat downwards graph. It's just going down. Simple as that. The card's alright on your turn when your leader or one of your characters is given a Don card. Give up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 7 or less, -1 cost during this turn. Because obviously one thing that black cards love to do is to minus cost. It's fine, but it's not hideously playable and all of that, and then this makes sense. And we see a very, very similar thing in at number 9 with ZEPHYR. It's about a $65 card, but you'll notice the graph here is again just a straight downwards trend, really. There's no real fluctuation like that. It is just, this card has been released, and it is getting cheaper and cheaper as time goes by, which I suppose is fair enough. Yeah, the bottom end here, you've got the OK alternate art leaders. Here we got dual colour, black and purple. We got Don -4 to KO one of your opponent's characters of a cost of 3 or less, and then gain 1,000 power. Really powerful skill, don't get me wrong. But then you've got the whole Don -4 thing, which you're not going to be able to do every turn, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry to break it to you. Now, in at number 8, we've got ourselves the alternate art of Kazan. This is one of the few alternate arts that does make it. That isn't a leader, I mean. But you're also talking about an alternate art of a secret rare, which is a much higher bar. Because obviously the pull rates are much, much lower for the alternate art secret rares than they are for the alternate art super rares. I don't think that's a controversial statement. So this card here, you're coming in somewhere in the region of about $70. For what it's worth, all these cards so far are still below number 10 of Romance Dawn. And you'll also see that this one is dropping pretty aggressively. Sure, it's about a $70 card now, but let's face it, it's not going to be a $70 card for long. This one is going to keep going down. It's actually a phenomenal card, 10 cost, and it gives all of your opponent's characters -5 cost. Phenomenal in black decks. And on play, you KO an opponent's character of a cost of 0. It's great, but also black is not taking over the format at the moment, and you've still got the whole, it's an alternate art character in a set where alternate art characters just aren't doing that well. There is a big exception, we'll get there in a minute. In at number 7, you've got the alternate art INVANKOV leader, and this one kind of makes perfect sense to me. It's a playable card, but it's not that playable. At least it's not seeing that much success. And it's weird, over in Japan, this was seeing a huge amount of love and success, and went and won a very big tournament and all of that. Over here, it's not seeming to see as much love and as much play as it seemed to be seeing over in Japan. Now, this isn't to say that it's not a good card, it's not a playable card or anything along those lines. It is to say that it seemed to be having, and again, this is all anecdotal. I don't have huge wads of stats or anything like that. But this seemed to be doing a lot better over in Japan than it is doing over here. And we do see that sometimes. The deal is very simply, we look at Japan's format and we get to basically refine it. And we start off with a more refined version of Japan's format. And that's why we do sometimes see this, where a card like this was pretty big over in Japan, but just did not have the same impact when it came out over here. Still about a $75 card. It's the one at the end of your turn, if you have 0 cards in your hand, you draw 2. It's a very cool card. It's just not seeing as much play as we might have expected, at least as far as I can tell right now. We're going to have some regionals and all kicking off in the not too distant future, and then we're going to really see where it all stands. I suspect it might start doing a bit better. So Sanji's coming in here at number 6, again about $75, but it's worth pointing out where they seem to have the same price. Please know that I've checked a bunch of places and I have put them in the correct order. Now here we've got dual colour green and blue. When you play a character with no base effect from your hand, if you have 3 or less characters, set up to 2 of your Don cards as active. This is a card that's it's a bit of a fringe leader. It sees a bit of play here and there. It's not a bad card by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm not entirely sure why this one is as high as it is. One thing I do think is very much worth mentioning, it is falling. Like so many of these, it is continuing to fall. So, yeah, that one is worth bearing in mind. I like this Sanji, it's cool, but I think this might be not necessarily because it's the best leader. Let's go and put it that way. Good. Alrighty then. So in at number 5, we have got ourselves NEwgate. Now this is the one alternate art character that gets on this list, and this makes perfect sense to me, because it is an absolute powerhouse in NEwgate decks. That is, of course, well, arguably the best deck in OP-02. Over in Japan, it was inarguably the best deck in OP-03. So, yeah, this makes perfect sense to me. Although you'll notice the graph, as with all the others, shooting down. So I'm putting this one nominally as an $80 card now, but you'll notice the 3 later solds are not at $80, and it really wouldn't surprise me if this just kept falling as time went by. Now we got a 9 cost 10,000 power. On play, up to one of your leaders gains 2,000 power, and then you cannot add life cards to your hand during this turn, which is good. And then Don X2 when attacking, KO a character with 3,000 power or less. It basically buffs up your already amazing leader while taking out small characters and giving yourself a 10,000 power attacker. It's great, but the alternate art characters, the pull rates are such that they're just not holding enough value. And like I say, it's $80 now. Believe me, it is not going to be there soon. Now, in at number 4, you've got the alternate art Kinemon, the leader. Now, this is another one. This has a weird graph. I told you for a while this was kind of shooting up and trying to buck the trend, but it's not bucking the trend. It's still very much falling, and is going to remain falling for probably a while yet. So, I'm putting it nominally at the moment as a $110 card, but as with so many of these, I don't think it's fair to assume it is going to remain as a $110 card for very long. It is dropping fast. And it is a very good leader, because activate main once per turn. If you have 1 or fewer characters in play, the next time you play a land of when a character of a cost of 3 or more from your hand, reduce it by 1. So you're playing cheaper characters, it's all good. It is a card that I've seen seeing a bit of play. I've seen a bunch of winning lists popping up based around this leader. And like I've said, this is the set of alternate art leaders. And that's where we're going to be for a little while. In at number 3, we've got Smoker. Now, Smoker's an interesting one. We're sitting up here at $150. And this is one that is taking a lot longer to fall. This is a graph that does not look like all the other graphs that I've been showing you here, frankly. It has started falling, don't get me wrong, but the fall has not been anywhere near as dramatic as most of the other cards I've shown you already in this video. And I think a lot of the reason for that very simply is people really like Smoker as a character, and people really like this to play with. Activate main once per turn, Don X1, give up to one of your opponent's characters -1 cost during this turn, bearing in mind that is what black decks always want to do. And then if there's any 0 cost character on the board, and there usually will be, you gain 1,000 power. Yeah, that's good, ladies and gentlemen. That's pretty gosh darn good. Now, in at number 2, you maybe could have guessed it is going to be the alternate art leader of Edward NEwgate. Obviously. It's, nominally I'm giving it $160 now, although you'll notice even this, you know, it's maybe the best deck in OP-02, definitely the best deck in OP-03, and yet we are still seeing a pretty pronounced drop. I told you the prices were going to drop. They are dropping quite nicely. So what we got here is just the best leader in the set by a mile. 6,000 power, 6 life. Now, you do have to add a card from the top of your life to your hand at the end of your turn. That does give you a card advantage, and we've seen there are ways around this. It's the best deck. And there's a very good reason why it's so gosh darn good. So it's $160 now. I could see this continuing to drop. We'll have to wait and see. And then obviously number 1 is Manga Race. That shouldn't really surprise anyone. Pricing Manga Race is nigh on impossible. I'm putting it at $1,000 nominally, but I'm also well aware that that is not perfect. But, you know, look at the latest solds we've got. 2 just under 1,000, 1 1,100, apparently a market price of 900. It's an awkward card, so I'm saying around about $1,000, and if you're buying or selling, you can figure it out from there. We saw a gigantic jump on release, but then since then, it's been hovering around the $900-ish mark here. But I do think $900 is a little bit low. And it's not because of the card. If it was because of the card, the alternate art would be on the list. It's purely just a case of, this is a manga rare. The manga rares have hilariously low pull rates. And that's your explanation. And I wish I could give you a better explanation. But no better explanation is needed, ladies and gentlemen. This is a card where the pull rate is so hilariously, ridiculously low that if you get hold of it, you ain't going to want to give it up. I bought one random pack of Romance Dawn in a shop the other day because they just had a delivery. Felt rude not to get a pack. And I pulled regular ace, which was still cool getting a super rare from your one pack. But shall we say it was, not the ace I would have chosen if I'd had a choice. That would have been the manga rare. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you think about all of this. I want to know which of these cards you pull, which of these cards you bought, which of these cards you want to buy, which of these cards you want to pull, and anything else in between. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk One Piece and a bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, and chat with us about anything you want to. And yeah, just have a lot of fun. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.